What's going on, everyone? Today, 65% of the S&P 500 closed up in the green, and the market made brand new all-time highs. So that was awesome to see. And in today's video, we're going to cover some very interesting charts that actually show how the post-election year is actually the strongest year in the presidential election cycle, which is really cool to see. And we also have a lot of important information to cover about what's going on with Trump and interest rates. And on top of that, there are a handful of stocks moving in a pretty hot way right now. So we have a lot to cover today. We have one more trading day left for the week, so let's make it count.
Yeah, Mike, today was a pretty awesome trading day. The market made brand new all-time highs. Let's go. We were talking about this a ton over the past couple weeks, that this $609 resistance was going to be huge to see a breakout above. And at the end of the day today, the market made this huge, major push to the upside, and it ended up breaking out. And I will say, Mike, this post-election rally has been really hot so far. And it looks like going back through the past 10 election cycles, honestly, the rallies coming after the elections are pretty dang good. I mean, in the post-election year, like I said, in the past 10 cycles, which is since 1985, the average S&P 500 performance was 18.1%. I mean, that is one high percentage right there.
Big time. And I also thought it was very interesting how the post-election year is extremely strong, especially compared to midterm years and election years. And it even beats out the pre-election year over the past 10 cycles. So either way you look at it, historically speaking, years like this one are generally pretty good for the market, and they have been especially good over the past 10 cycles.
Yeah, 100%. And I will say the second-term presidents are even better, which is even a better statistic here. You know, going to another chart, the second-term presidents, you can see here in light blue, really outshine most other times. Now, it looks like in the pre-election year, that's not the case. But in the post-election year, the year that we're in now, it does have a pretty significant higher percentage there than those average years and, of course, the new president. So at the end of the day, hey, it looks like Trump here with this second term so far is looking good. And I will say the market generally goes up year over year. Obviously, right, as we've seen the market continue to rise. But at the end of the day, this is some really good positive data to really help back the bullish run right now.
No doubt, and we're going to dive deep into some SPY levels and analysis as the video goes on. But Tom, as we know, there has been a lot of political news lately, and I have a feeling it's not going to slow down anytime soon. And today's news is tied to interest rates and how Trump is demanding that interest rates drop immediately. So I thought this was pretty interesting in multiple different senses. As we can see by looking on CNBC here, Trump has taken a pretty vocal stance about interest rates. And the thing is here is that, you know, it's not as simple as just, you know, demanding that interest rates drop and then that's what ends up happening. Like, you know, it's kind of like saying, like, I demand the stock market to go up immediately. Like, you know, it's not as simple as that. And the main person who will come into play in a situation like this one is the big man, Jerome Powell. So for those of you who don't know, Jerome Powell is arguably like the most influential person when it comes to like the stock market and especially like the U.S. economy, as many would say. And Powell necessarily doesn't have to listen to Trump about this. And over the years, they definitely have had their disagreements.
They definitely have, Mike. I can't believe there's an article from 2018 where Trump's even quoted as of saying, I'm not even a little bit happy with my selection of Jay. And this goes back to 2018, guys. And of course, whenever he was going through the transitory stuff and everything like that, you know, I'm sure that Trump's disliking for him grew, but Trump did say he was going to leave him in, but obviously this might mean that they're going to butt heads at some point, so be ready for a lot of political turmoil with this, and of course, whether you like Trump in this situation or not, it is something to keep on the radar, and looking at the U.S. 10-year, Mike, it's still just under 5% right now, sitting around 4.646%. I'm definitely going to be watching this like a hawk over the next couple months to see if we really get that extension back towards 5%, or if maybe this pressure might calm things down a bit.
Yeah, and it's something that has to be watched. Like when you have the US 10-year yield rising like it is, that puts a lot of pressure on the economy in multiple different senses. Not only does it increase mortgage rates and every other rate out there, but it also makes it a lot harder for stocks to rise. Over the past couple of weeks, we have seen yields calm down a bit, but when we zoom out, we can see that over the past few months, the uptrend has definitely been pretty strong, and if it does continue, it does bring a lot of risk into the stock market, and that's part of the reason why I think Trump really wants to get these rates down. But at the same time, Jerome Powell isn't all that eager to do that because he knows the war against inflation has not been won just yet, and if they cut interest rates too soon, they might have an even worse problem down the line. So, and then when you throw in the tariff situation and the price of oil and all of the geopolitical uncertainty, it makes for a very interesting but also exciting and opportunity-filled situation for traders, especially over these next couple weeks and months.
Yeah, and I know that we keep talking about that we have to really watch out for different things that Trump says, and today he was speaking at that World Economic Forum, and he did end up saying some stuff about crude oil, and you can see crude oil actually had a pretty big reaction intraday from this. You can see crude ended up dropping down a lot, so I figured that I would mention that as being one of the actionable things that he did end up saying throughout this conference that I did notice, and I did go look at ZOM, Oxy, and a lot of the oil stocks, and there was definitely a lot of bearishness whenever he started to mention oil in this speech. So just keep watching out for more things that Trump says and talks about, because at the end of the day right now, it seems like that is obviously something that is powering a lot of stocks in the market.
Yeah, the market is definitely different right now than it has been over the past couple of years. And, like we've been mentioning, Trump, he likes to be pretty vocal about his stances, and they definitely have big implications on the market. So, keep that in mind. Pay close attention to the news, especially over these next couple of weeks and months. But speaking of some new news, we have some very sad news for Palantir investors. It was fun while it lasted, but Jimmy Boy made a tweet today basically saying that nothing can stop Palantir. Nothing. And it already got 1.4 million views, and I was looking at the comments on this tweet, Tom, and I was dying. But yeah, this is definitely a pretty scary warning signal for Palantir investors.
Yeah, definitely, Mike. I mean, the comments are flaming him, of course. I mean, and can you blame him, right? Of course, he's done a lot over the past couple years to really, I guess, worry investors, but I'm definitely worried now for Palantir. I'm surprised that it didn't drop today after that tweet ended up coming out. It did push higher with the market at the end of the day, so I guess looking at Palantir in the short term, it does have this recent high around 84.80 to 85, and I would say even resistance for tomorrow around $80 to definitely watch for as it's starting to rise, but definitely watch out because the kiss of death is definitely touched it.
Exactly. So either way, keep a close eye on Palantir. And one thing that I'm not loving with this one, I love the company for the long term, and I am so excited to see what this company looks like years down the line. But from a short-term perspective, I am a little bit worried about some of this lower high action that we have been seeing, and I think that does, definitely present some risk in the short term.
Yeah, and I think that $80 mark will be crucial. If we see a good break above that, it'll kind of show that trend of those lower highs are starting to break a little bit. So that'll definitely be a very, very crucial stock to keep on the radar for the next couple days. That's for sure.
All right. Well, looking at some SPY levels and analysis, Tom, you've been great with these levels, especially in the short term. They've been so useful. What is next to watch? I know the skies are clear because we're at all-time highs, but what do we have to look out for?
Yeah, so this is, like you said, we're at new all-time highs. The skies are clear now. The previous all-time high was right around 609.07. So I'm really watching 609 as a major support. You can even see in after hours here. SPY is trying to hold this as support. So I'm going to use that tomorrow, as well as 608.50 and then 608 just under there. Those are going to be some levels to keep on the radar if SPY ends up pulling back. If SPY does keep ripping here up into the heavens, there are some levels to watch. I would say 610, it has to be on the radar. It's just above the high right at the end of the day, but it's a big whole dollar psychological level. So firstly, we need to see a good 610 break. After that, I'll mainly be watching for 612. That is 2 points away. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be watching for 611 as well. But the main thing right now is feeling out the momentum in the market, right? What was something that helped fuel the overall market today? We saw some great movement out there. We saw Nvidia moving, and it wasn't just big tech stocks today. You know, going to the heat map, Mike, there was a lot of positivity out there. Even like with healthcare stocks, for example, some of these stocks with earnings like GE, the defense stocks were pretty decent. So there's a lot of different parts of the market right now really helping fuel the SPY.
No doubt. And one level that is definitely close on my radar in the short term is 608. This was a key area of resistance yesterday, and honestly, for a lot of the SPY uptrend in December. So I think 608 is like a key level to just keep on the radar. I know this has been a major past resistance level, but that now becomes support, and I feel like it's something that definitely should not be ignored, especially considering that the market is still actively reacting off of this level as we've seen over the past 2 days.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with this overall breakout is seeing like, hey, is this going to be sustained, right? Hopefully, and Mike, I would bet a lot of traders are praying that we don't even get to 608 tomorrow, right? Considering that we had this nice break, and hopefully that's the case and we continue to hold up. But I agree with you. If there is a pullback, that is one of the more major levels that I'm watching for.
All right, sounds good. And then shifting over to the economic schedule, we can see that we have one major event for tomorrow, which is the existing home sales data that will release 30 minutes after market open. Honestly, like this data, yes, it's important, but it's not that important. As we can see by looking at the calendar, the much more important event will happen next week as we actually have an FOMC interest rate decision. So that'll be super exciting next week, and we'll definitely cover that more in future videos. But then also looking at the earnings calendar, we have Verizon and American Express set to report tomorrow before open.
Yeah, those are going to be pretty interesting. I know Verizon has had a lot of movement over the past couple of years, both up and down, right? Like if we go look at them on a daily chart, Verizon has actually been falling down pretty low, but it's up quite a bit from this recent low of around $30. So I'll definitely be watching that report very carefully. If they could get a good gap up, that could be an interesting thing to watch for with maybe some of these cell phone companies like this. And of course, AXP, they're very highly respected. And a lot of these banks have been ripping lately along with credit card companies, and AXP is on fire right now.
Yeah, it has been a bull fest all around, so we'll definitely keep it close on watch, and earnings season has been pretty exciting so far. Like you mentioned, bank stocks definitely set the tone, but Netflix definitely continued that sort of sentiment as they gapped up, of course, with their stock, but they just crushed their quarterly report, too. They passed 300 million monthly subscribers, which is great to see, and they posted some pretty awesome growth, so I'm very excited to see what earnings looks like for the rest of these companies, especially with big tech. So it'll definitely be fun there. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into some setups and predictions. A stock that is definitely on my radar right now is Moderna, mRNA. This stock has been moving to the upside in a pretty strong way over the short term, and its price action today was phenomenal. It had that initial dip around open and then just continued the trend higher, and it's definitely gaining more and more momentum. There has been more attention lately related to just the recent bird flu problem, we can say. Moderna actually received $590 million from the U.S. government to speed up the development of a vaccine that can be used to fight bird flu. Either way, it's getting some good attention and momentum right now. Moderna stock, in the short term, has been trading with around 5 million shares of volume per day, and in the ultra short term, it has been seeing increased volume of anywhere from 7 to 17 million shares per day. day, and as high as 33 million shares for the day on January 13th. Plus, when you combine that with increasing momentum and just like good price action, it's definitely some good things to see. Right now, the stock is trading for around $42.50 per share. I see resistance at $44 and $46, so keep that in mind. And some support is at like $41.50 and 41. I ideally do not want to see the stock get below these levels. If it does fall below this, that would be a warning sign.
Yeah, I definitely like that support, Mike. I'll be watching it very closely. That 41 level is pretty awesome. Like, we're at peak there in the past, but I know Moderna has some big news in the short term as well with Trump, and I know Larry Ellison, the chairman of Oracle, ended up coming out and praising some of these AI cancer vaccines and talking about using them to maybe go after cancer and detect it in blood and different things like that. So obviously, like, look, I'm not a medical scientist, right? But this stuff gets pretty advanced. But at the end of the day, the stock was definitely moving, Mike, and there's a lot of good short-term price action and bullishness with it. So definitely keep it on the radar. With my first setup, I'm looking at NVIDIA to the upside. I'm really watching 147.20, pretty much just watching the high of day here right at after hours. I really love the way it broke above 147, and if we see that 147.20 break, I'm going to keep watching it up. I really do like the daily setup on NVIDIA. It's been holding this pattern and support very, very well around 130 and even made a higher low in the short term. I think that the most crucial thing, though, is going to be that there's not a lower high formed over the next couple days. But with the way the market's breaking out and the way stocks are moving, I'm really looking for this recent high around 153 to test and then possibly break. Of course, NVIDIA is one of the hottest stocks in the market, and if the SPY is breaking out, it makes sense that NVIDIA would be moving up with the market here.
No doubt. All right, so good stuff there. Another stock that is close on watch is UAL, and it is to the downside. This was a stock that was covered in yesterday's video, and it had a great down move today, which was awesome to see. In yesterday's video, I mentioned about the stock potentially getting to 103, and it got past that today, which is awesome. So now I'm looking for a potential retest of that $100 support. UAL is pretty overextended in the short term, and it rejected in a very hard way off of earnings this week, even though the earnings were good, which definitely is a bearish thing to see. But either way, UAL is on my bearish radar. $100 is the next target.
Yeah, I really do like 100 down there. That'll be a fun one to watch for the next couple days. And I know that some of those earnings this morning definitely helped fuel UAL down. That was a very fun one to watch play out throughout the day. With my next setup, I'm looking at Oklo to the upside again. We looked at this one on the Bookmap yesterday, and we were looking at the double top at $35, and we saw the breakout today right around market open within 10 minutes, actually. It was that quick, but 35 broke and Oklo exploded again. These nuclear stocks are on fire, and now Oklo's sitting right at $40 a share. It actually did get slightly above there today, but nonetheless, I am watching for a break. There's around 17,000 shares stacked at that $40 mark. Now, like I said, it did test that today and slightly break it. The share number should probably be higher than that, but of course, like I said, it did end up breaking momentarily. But I will be watching for that $40 break tomorrow. If we get it, there's not really too much sellers stacked up overhead or much liquidity there. So I think that that means we could have some good potential movement to the upside in a pretty decent way. You know, it was almost a 5-point move today above our $35 target from yesterday. I think for tomorrow, you know, targeting like 42 to 43, totally feasible.
Beautiful. All right, well, sounds great there, and I will definitely keep this one on watch as well. But besides that, we are all clear for today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have RKLB to the upside.
This end of day push was amazing for Rocket Lab. If they can break out above 3180, just above the high at the end of the day, keep watching them to the upside.
All right, with the next one, we have Teladoc also to the upside.
TDOC, they're sitting right around a recent high at $10.20, where they're actually double topping. So if they get the breakout of this double top, keep watching them up as well.
And then with the last one, we have EA, but to the downside.
Oh my gosh, Electronic Arts did not get the memo today, Mike, down 16%. Now, granted, they're in a different sector, but if they end up pulling back under $115.50 right at the low of day, then keep watching them to the downside as well. That was a pretty brutal sell-off.
No doubt. So we have EA with the level to the downside, and then we have TDOC and RKLB on watch for potential moves to the upside. Either way, these three stocks are on watch for potential continuations if and only if they break through the levels listed. The stronger and more consistent these stocks move, the better the setups become. Have stop losses and be willing to adjust with the trend changes as they happen. Those trades are crucial to be able to, trade in a good, smart way, because if you don't protect yourself by having stop losses and you're not willing to, adjust with the trend, you're just not aligning with the stock like you're supposed to. So keep that in mind, not only with momentum plays, but all trades in general. And besides that, Tom, it is now about that time to dive into today's $8.5 million big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol BE. So Bloom Energy has been on fire over the past few months, and the big money bought the 28 strike call options that expire on July 18th of 2025. This is a very heavy trade right here, coming in at $8.5 million. These call options are right at the money, and they have a fair amount of time to them. Bloom Energy is like a clean energy company that has definitely been outperforming many other clean energy companies, and I would say has been moving more similarly to stocks like OKLO, SMR, and others more than anything else, which is really good, especially considering how well, those stocks have been performing. We'll put it that way. Looking at this trade here, it's a high-risk, high-reward trade where, BE certainly has the potential to continue moving like it is, but of course, that comes at the risk that, this stock is very volatile, and it can move a lot in both directions. So keep that in mind. This trade has all the way out until July, so it's not necessarily a trade that is, being focused on for tomorrow or next week, but it's definitely not one to ignore.
Yeah, this recent high here is like right around, it looks like 28.70, and that's going to be a big area to watch. I've actually found a huge resistance here right around 27 to 28, but I'll definitely be watching that big resistance around 28.70. And I think that there's a lot of traders out there that might be thinking like, hey, what's going on? Like, this one's right at resistance, right? I think that this is actually still a great setup. You look at the overall bullish pattern here, and it did start to dip a little bit recently, and now it's starting to come up and test that high. And we're seeing a lot of stocks break out in the short term. I would not be surprised at all if it was able to push past this recent high and go on a pretty decent run. So I like this one, Mike. It's a good strike. It's like right at the money, and 8.5 million. I mean, that's the most we've had in a little while here on the channel.
Definitely. So either way, keep a close eye on this one going forward. I'm definitely excited to see how it ends up doing. But before we continue on, let's give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Martin H. in the StockedUp trading floor, and he crushed it today with some SPY options. So he made a little bit over $8,000 with some calls today, which was great to see, and he had some awesome things to say in the testimonials channel as well. So huge shout out to you, Martin. Thank you so much for all of the kind words, and keep up the great work going forward. It's awesome to see screenshots like this one, and again, thank you so much for all the kind words. If you guys are into short-term trading, you have to check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. That gives you access to the StockedUp trading floor, which gives you full access to all of our custom trading bots. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long, join our weekly live events, which in my opinion is one of the best things you can do if you want to become a better, smarter trader, as well as access more channels, tools, and resources than you probably even need. So definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. It is the place to be if you want to be a better trader. There's a lot you will learn in a very short amount of time. But also, if you are new to the channel, consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. It takes us hours to make these videos, and in every video, we cover the most important news, information, earnings, chart setups, big money plays, and everything you have to know in around 20 to 25 minutes or less. So consider joining the family if you haven't already. But besides that, guys, we have one more day left of the week, so let's make it count.